Oh, goodness. Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Ryan.
Welcome and thanks for joining
Thank
in.
you.
So today we're discussing it's the Addiction Homework Planner workshop, and today we're discussing setting and pursuing goals in recovery. Before we get started, I just want to let everybody know that we are broadcasting on a few public channels. That's going to go on for 10 to 20 minutes. And those public channels are the Marieb Helper Facebook profile, the Duly Diagnosed YouTube channel, and the ARC, the My Rehab Facebook page. Again, those are going to go in for 10 to 20 minutes, and then we're going to switch over exclusively to the My Rehab Cafe. So if you are a member of the My Rehab Cafe and you want a higher degree of anonymity or confidentiality, please wait until we switch over before sort of jumping on. I have posted the link in all of the comments. So if anybody wants to jump on and participate via video or audio, you can just click on that link and follow the instructions. Alternatively, you can call in on my number that's showing on the screen, and you can participate via that channel. Or you can just post the comment. And Sophia, thank you. Welcome. Thanks for your comments.
Morning, Sophia.
Yeah, so like Sophia, if you want to comment and participate via that channel, we'll post the comment and have a conversation around that. Let me just do that so I can see other comments. Okay, cool. So let's get into it, Megan. The worksheet is titled Setting and Pursuing Goals in Recovery.
Great topic.
Yeah, right. Okay, there's much in our lives over which we have little or no control, and this is more important that we change whatever harmful patterns we can.
Ryan.
Choosing recovery. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. The connection, the worksheet didn't come up. It's up now, but we didn't hear a word you said there. Sorry for that. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So I don't know if you want to try start over.
Cool. Okay. So there is much in our lives over which we have little or no control, and this makes it more important that we change whatever harmful patterns we can. In choosing recovery, we have more to change than just certain habits. Please list 3 changes you want to make in your life beyond giving up addictive patterns to support your recovery and avoid relapse. List behaviors, things that you do, not characteristics, things that you are. So a behavior is changeable. Characteristics may not be changeable. For example, when you are shy, you may not be able to stop being shy, but you can avoid isolating yourself. And I think that's an important distinction, point to make, because I'm a big fan of, and I discussed this with Lorio yesterday. I'm a big fan of the Big 5 personality traits and the personality assessment tool that Jordan Peterson offers on his website. So that's on his website at understandyourself.com. And it's really a powerful tool in that it'll give you feedback in terms of what personality traits it is that you or where you lie on the spectrum of for each different personality trait, right? So for example, if you're where you are in the spectrum of being in terms of being an agreeable person, so you can either be like on the very sort of far end, being very disagreeable, or on the other side, on the other end, being very agreeable, or anywhere in between. And the thing about that tool is that it gives you feedback, no matter where it is that you fall in on the scale, and it tells you a lot about yourself. So somebody being, for example, shyness, you could relate that to. I would say you could either relate that to being very low in extroversion, or perhaps being very high in neuroticism. So neuroticism is the domain of negative emotion, or it implies negative emotion. So if you're very neurotic person, you'll have sort of high levels of depression and anxiety. Very low in extroversion. That's made up of two subdomains, which is withdrawal and withdrawal. No, sorry. Neuroticism is withdrawal. Extroversion is enthusiasm and assertiveness. So if you're a very unenthusiastic person, you're not necessarily going to want to go and hang around large groups of people and so on. So those characteristics may not be changeable. I think you can change them to some extent, but they're generally stable over the lifetime, over the duration of somebody's lifetime. But you can transcend that, as the worksheet says, by avoiding isolating yourself. So, because isolating yourself can be very dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. So, have you got any other examples for changes?
Firstly, just to add to your comments, I just want to say, what a beautiful thing, though, is this journey of self-discovery, that it does allow us to get to this point of knowing who we are and, coming to know ourselves. And again, like we touched on the other day, reaching that point of just authenticity within ourselves. So to get to that place of knowing your personality traits and for a lack of better words, your individual personalities is really a lovely place and a lovely journey to take. And I think something, that's important when talking about something like that is to focus on what I can change, what works for me as an individual, realizing that I cannot change others on my journey, and I can only focus on myself as an individual. And that's something that you hear me touch on a lot, is an individualized approach. So, I think coming back to the question of other things that we could change, I often advise people or encourage people to look at, the physical things that they could change, lifestyle changes, be it exercise, eating habits, just wellness lifestyle changes. And also, goals that we can set for ourselves to bring about healthy cognitive changes. So an example that I could give there would be better sleeping patterns, for example. So better sleeping patterns that could positively affect my cognitive abilities, like brain fog or feeling less tired. And, when I'm feeling tired, I'm demotivated and all of that stuff. So, coming back to answering the question, I would suggest things, looking at things like physical changes, things that, like I say, improve our cognitive ways and all of that. And I just want to reiterate that obviously these are just suggestions that may not work for everybody, but they are really just suggestions based on things that I've seen work and your common approaches, like your SMART goals.
Tell us about SMART goals.
So when coming into recovery, they often refer to using SMART goals, which is broken down as per the word SMART. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So breaking up the goals in those kinds of categories. I don't know if you want me to go through them. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you want to be specific with your goals. So, being specific with your goal really means putting a reason to each goal to keep myself motivated. So why am I formulating this goal? I think that that's a really important thing to do, is to really put a reason to why you're doing it, so that you can keep that motivation throughout your journey of trying to achieve that goal. Again, as I mentioned, measuring it, according to your physical goals, your cognitive goals, your relational goals, measuring that goal as you go through it. to see how you are doing and how you are progressing along the journey. I think that it's also good to educate yourself on your overall situation. So, for example, here in this case, we're looking at addiction. So, educate yourself on the addiction and your triggers and your symptoms, so that it helps you to be specific in your goal settings, for example. And also, looking at how I've dealt with it in the past. What has worked for me in the past, what hasn't worked for me in the past, that can help me now with setting and achieving goals. And and then your relevance and your time limited would really be, focusing on your motivations and your desires to change, remembering that we are learning on the journey and we're adapting on the journey. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, focusing on what I can change, what's in my reach to change, and what works for me as an individual. I think that you can also take things hour by hour. You could set a goal for yourself just for today and take it hour by hour and measure. Hours eventually turn into days, turn into weeks, turn into months. So I think, really just breaking down the goals and again, just remembering to keep them. We touched on this the other day. Keep them achievable. Not setting goals that are too difficult to reach, or that are not too much too soon. Really remembering that Rome wasn't built in a day, essentially.
Sure. Sure. So, what I've got to say, like, I'm going to give some of my own experiences. So my wife is very high. She's very conscientious. So she's very high in orderliness. Okay. I mean, the worksheet specifically says list 3 changes you want to make in your life to support your recovery and avoid relapse. So, something, she's high in orderliness. So in contrast to her, I'm very low in orderliness, right? If you come into my office, suppose you guys can just see this table here, but I've got this desk in front of me, and it's like a raging mess, but it's perfectly in order from my perspective. Okay. If my wife had to walk in and see it, she'd fall over and have a heart attack or a stroke. But yeah, I say it's perfectly in order. It's not. It's but I know everything is, and I kind of, what happens with me is it sort of grows into this giant mess. Okay, and then I go through these processes where, like, sort of like once a month, I sort of tidy things up and put things away and file them and all that kind of thing. And it's something as simple as tidying up your room, tidying up the space that you sort of exist in, is a very powerful tool, I think, to help in one's recovery, especially if you are very low in orderliness. If you're low in orderliness, you're probably going to have a tough time with orderliness. So yeah, Sophia says, that's what it feels like sometimes. That's what it feels like sometimes, but it does grow into something unmanageable. But again, in terms of the worksheet, part of who I am is being disorderly. Okay, but the behavior, is not. It doesn't necessarily have to stay stuck in this disorderly sort of domain. I can tidy my damn room. Do you know what I mean? So Sophia's got a cool one here. Work on having more patience. That's a big one for me. Yeah, patience I struggle with. I want things yesterday. And that sort of being impatient puts me in a position where I struggle. And I think we did communication styles with Lorio last week. Being impatient sort of, and being somewhat of a disagreeable person, which is the domain of compassion and politeness, in a position where I need something done and I want it done yesterday. I struggle with being polite about sort of demand, and that's not normally it's not necessarily a helpful helpful thing in recovery. You know, you tend to sort of damage relationships when you demand stuff from people.
Mm-hmm.
D'Angelo's got a comment. Do you want to comment on that quick?
Yeah, I just, it's like I referred to earlier. One could ask themselves when setting these goals. So, for example, Ryan, let's just use the desk as an example. So, my goal is to clean my desk. Like I said earlier, one could attach a motivation to that. So, why do I want to clean my desk? And that helps increase the motivation. So, why do I want to clean my desk? Because it's going to help me feel more organized. Because it's going to, make my wife more comfortable to come into my office, for example. Or coming back to the patients, I would like to have more patients. Why? Why would I like to have more patients? And so, one could really
I can interrupt
attach.
you, Megan. That was, in fact, the next thing on the list. Eh? So you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, I mean, we set goals, and it's not about setting a large goal. It's about, setting an achievable goal. So, for example, I want to have more patients. Maybe break that down, even further. If you have ways to do that and questions you could ask yourself around that. So I want to have more patience because, and then list your motivations and perhaps look at how you can break those down further to make it achievable and to make it, not to place these huge expectations on ourselves. And then again, making it measurable, measuring it as we go, seeing how we are learning, seeing how we are adapting, seeing and assessing what's working, what can still be improved upon.
So D'Angelo posted a comment for me at one stage about pursuing my goal. I couldn't say no for a couple of years. Every period of time, I had a change of mind, telling myself to say no to the smallest things so I can become a better and positive person to myself. Cool. Well, so that's good. That's good that you've grown in that way, D'Angelo. Well done, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, D'Angelo.
Yeah. Maybe D'Angelo, maybe if you can give us some examples, I think that would be. I think that might be helpful for any other viewers that are watching.
So what I'm picking up on is in other words, just implementing a bit of assertiveness and boundaries there as well for D'Angelo's comment.
That's what it sounds like. Sure. Saying no where others might sort of, be putting you, be sort of putting you in a dangerous position. Maybe asking you to go to a party or whatever that you don't necessarily feel comfortable going to.
And also having, if one has had a journey of people pleasing, I mean, now this is also a whole nother topic, saying no, when coming out of the people pleasing stage, is also, setting those boundaries, learning how to say no, being assertive when you've been a people pleaser for as long as you can remember. That's also quite an interesting whole nother workshop.
Yeah. Maybe we should do that next week, Megan. Or we've got another workshop on Friday. Maybe we can do it on Friday.
Right.
Hey?
Perfect. Yeah. Let's do it.
So if you don't mind, just send me a reminder about that. What's it, people pleasing? Okay, cool.
A good one, Matt.
All right. So it asks us to list the reasons why you want to make these changes. For me, so Sophia mentioned having more patience. So, and I agree with that one. I think having a higher degree of patience is a value to aspire to. And the reason that I would want to aspire to that is because I think I would sort of it would help me have better relationships, I suppose, with people around. Because instead of being sort of moaning and belligerent all the time about what I want, I could be a bit more reasonable. And Sophia posted another comment. Let me just get to that.
Ultimately, also just to have a better quality of life, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, so having more patience around it, you know what they say about happy wife, happy life, eh? So if I was more patient, my wife would be happier, and in turn, I would be
So
happier.
so that's also a whole nother workshop we could run with happy wife. Happy wife,
For sure.
happy life.
People pleasing and inability to control your feelings sometimes go hand in hand. I think that can definitely be the case. Do you want to maybe elaborate on that, Sophia? What exactly do you mean by that, eh? So we don't have to speculate. I'm going to move on to another question in the meantime. You could
And then
elaborate.
definitely, sorry, Ryan, and then definitely,
Yeah.
Sophia, please jump onto the group on Friday and join us with the people pleasing topic. We'd love to have you and your input there.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Okay, now list 3 methods you'll use to achieve your goals. Describe what you'll do. Example, call a friend every day, join a local theatre group. Megan, I must be honest with you. Something that's come up for me is I've had a lot of friends. My closest friends have all passed away, or well, they've all passed away. So that's been something that's been quite hard for me. You know, and when I say my closest friend, I mean these are friends that I've had for decades. Okay. And you know, being in recovery, and I was discussing this with my wife, and I feel like one of the ways you can do it is by going to 12-step meetings, I suppose, and engaging with like-minded individuals at 12-step meetings. But I think somebody that isn't high in extroversion, or somebody that's sort of like doesn't necessarily like big groups or things like that, it's difficult to go out and make new friends. You know, and I was thinking about different ways that we could do that. And I've got this one buddy of mine, Russell, who's I called him up the other day, see how he was doing, and he was like, "Oh, listen, I've joined the local bowls club," which my grandfather used to play bowls. I used to think it was like an old man's sport, but I suppose I'm getting a bit older. But playing bowls, going out and playing some bowls with your mates once a week sounds like an interesting thing to do. You know, I'm not a sports fanatic. You know what I mean? So I don't really dig the idea of sort of running out there and joining cycling clubs and wearing ski pants and shit like that. But Sophia did respond. Let's see. Okay, so I have frontal lobe damage as well as bipolar and struggle to control my emotions. And having that problem, you tend to people please, so your vulnerability of controlling your emotions show. Okay. Cool. And Sophia says she's definitely going to join in on Friday. So that's cool. Thanks, Sophia. That'll be awesome.
Thanks, Sophia.
What do you have to?
Sorry, Ron, you're going to have to say that again. Your signal just went. I didn't hear you.
What do you have to say in response to Sophia's comment?
Your comment. Oh, the comment that Sophia just posted. Well, I can, you know, first of all, thank you for sharing that, Sophia. And you know, it's my comment there would really be, you know, is that working closely again with a health professional for those things that you're experiencing, the frontal lobe damage and the bipolar, you know, working closely with your health professional whilst undergoing, you know, counseling or life skills counseling and stuff like that, you know, could really be beneficial on that journey. Because again, you know, you're an individual. We are all individuals. So someone working with you very closely as a one-on-one can really help you through this and help you on your journey, you know, with your people pleasing in connection with your bipolar and your frontal lobe damage.
Yeah, and you know, I think if I can comment on that too, I think, you know, just engaging even via this sort of channel, this platform.
Mm.
Doing these live videos and going through these worksheets has sort of been a very positive thing for me as well. I've been sort of doing some self-investigation, as we go along. And it's weird. I was with my psychologist this morning, and she said, "Wow, the oppositional defiance is seems to be a lot more under control today." And I didn't understand what she meant, but I thought about it on the way home, and it's like, I think that's, I think with this process of self-discovery and self-exploration and we do sort of get to know ourselves better and learn how to, like Sophia says, manage our emotions in a better way, or sort of even find workarounds. So if sort of getting angry, being triggered and getting angry very quickly is something that happens, you can sort of, like, I don't know, buy yourself some time before you respond, which is very difficult in the moment. But I think it's helpful to not sort of act out on those emotions as and when they arise. So if you can buy yourself some time before you respond to anybody, if you're feeling angry, then maybe do that. It'll save you. I know it saves me relationships that I value.
And also, like I mentioned earlier, one could really, as like I was saying earlier, about educating yourself as much as you can on yourself and your conditions and diagnoses and stuff like that. What are my triggers? What are things that I battle with? What are things that I can identify within myself when in relation to another person? What are things that get me worked up? Like I say, trigger me. And how have I dealt with that in the past that's not worked and that has worked? What are the goals that I can set for myself to improve on that? And how can I work closely with my counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist through this process of all of that to help me live to my to help me live to my full potential and to my ultimate quality of life, wellness, so to speak.
Megan, we sort of our time's up on the public channels. Before we switch over, I want to just quickly go back to this worksheet, which I've removed from added to the stream. So now, list 3 methods you'll use to achieve your goals. Describe what you'll do. Example. Okay. So I think in the example that we were using Sophia's example of patience, right? So being impatient might be a I suppose from a 12-step perspective, they call it character shortcoming, or character defect, or whatever they call it, right? That's not necessarily something, being impatient might not necessarily be something that we can change if it's so, something that's intrinsically part of us. So if we are very impulsive and sort of demand very demand things in an impatient way, or whatever the case, right? We might not necessarily be able to change the fact that we're an impatient person, but we can change our behavior. Okay. So if we're going to change our behavior, so what does that include? It includes maybe sort of like from a step-by-step point of view. If there's something that I want, maybe a very specific step that we can take is say, okay, cool. Before I sort of insist on this thing that I'm going to be impatient around, that I want, I'm going to buy myself 2 hours to go off and really, consider the pros and cons and do a pros and cons list. And sort of, every time I find myself being impatient, I'm gonna say, okay, cool. I'm gonna take 2 hours time out, go and think about this and write it out, because writing is a very powerful means of organizing your thoughts, right? So just wanted to give a specific, be specific in terms of or deliberate in terms of the worksheet.
Yeah, so I was actually going to mention now writing it out. Often you get goal diaries, goal planners, so that it can help you to write things out and to break things down and to journal it. And I think that could be very helpful.
Cool, guys. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that's watched on the public channels. Everybody that's in the MyRehab Cafe, we'll see you in about 2.5 minutes. I'm going to play this this video, which is going to give anybody on the public channels an intro to what the MyRehab Cafe is all about. If you want to join the MyRehab Cafe, so the MyRehab Cafe private and unsearchable Facebook group is free to anybody that's been, or the basic package is free to anybody that's been part of the MyRehab or the ARC inpatient process, right? So the community is primarily built up of people that have been through the inpatient process, and they need an aftercare process where they can participate in workshops, lectures, so on and so forth, to keep them engaged in a process of self-discovery or recovery. If you want to join that, go to www.myrehab.com or myrehabcafe.com or myrehabcafe.co.za, and you'll find out more about how you can join it, what it all means. But for now, watch the video, and we'll see you guys. Today's Wednesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're doing a relapse prevention workshop with Christopher Harper, who's a psychologist in private practice, who provides psychotherapeutic interventions at MyRehab. So cool. With that, goodbye, everyone. Thanks, Megan. See you.
Bye.
Oh, cool.
What's up, guys? MyRehab Helper here. I want to tell you about a refreshing approach to a process of self-discovery for anyone that's just left a rehab program for substance abuse issues, or for anyone wanting to engage with a community of others on a journey of self-discovery. The MyRehab Cafe initiative is a thriving community focused on sobriety. You'll find that this group is thriving and full of conversations and discussion on what is working for those who are staying sober. Some members have used 12-step programs and others have never stepped foot into a meeting, but they all have one thing in common. They are serious about quitting drinking and leading a better life. New members often express how friendly, open, and welcoming the community feels, even more than they expected. We achieve this by fostering a community built on trust and fairness, with policies in place and enforce a no jerks allowed policy. We will make a point of getting you plugged in and connected with the community, and all this with the understanding that you want to be here and the expectation that you will put in the effort and participate in the group. Members gain access to recovery resources like worksheets, online lectures, online Q&A sessions, online discussion forums, online workshops, linking with an accountability partner and the MyRehab podcast. In MyRehab Cafe, you'll get advice and tips from members who have been sober for years, from those who have been where you are. They have a tremendous amount of experience to share, but so do you. We have chosen to grow this group slowly, paying attention to who may be a good fit and who may not be. This group may not be for everyone, and that's okay. Those who realize it's not about what you get from the community, but what you can give, are the ones who we see being the most successful. Those who ask questions, share with others, attend webinars, and get out of their comfort zones are the ones who benefit the most from this private online community. Thanks for listening, guys. MyRehab Helper, over and out.